What was the woman who brought up Britain's Queen Elizabeth II? The Queen of Great Britain ruled the country for 70 years, and today few people remember who brought up the young Lilibeth. A very long and fascinating series could be made about the life of Mary of Teck, Elizabeth II's grandmother. She had a difficult fate. She had to go through many trials and prove her right to become the king's wife. Although, as the story goes, this place was destined for a completely different girl. However, it seems that a higher power intervened more than once in Maria of Tekka's life. First mate. She was born in 1867 into the family of Franz, Duke of Teck, and British Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge. Little Princess May's good parents, as everyone called her, were Queen Victoria and Edward, Prince of Wales. May and her 3 younger brothers were considered members of the British royal family and were brought up alongside the heirs to the throne. That said, life for Mary of Teck was quite unlike that led by princesses. It's worth saying that her mother, who was actually in charge of raising the children, was rather strict and cold. May knew nothing of motherly caress, bedtime stories, or parental kisses. But she had learned from an early age that she had duties and responsibilities. Her teachers treated her as her parents demanded, strictly. At the age of 16, she was already her mother's private secretary, and before that she had accompanied her on many official trips and helped to organize receptions. This is not to say that Mary Adelaide of Cambridge did not appreciate all that her daughter did. She just thought that she was preparing May for a future difficult life. However, Mary of Teck herself did not complain at all. All that she was entrusted with, she carried out with great diligence, and it is not customary in aristocratic families to talk about what was going on in her heart and soul. As May grew older, her restraint and strength of character became apparent. A suitable bride for a prince. Queen Victoria openly sympathized with her goddaughter and subsequently chose Prince Albert Victor of Wales, as her bride. However, the role was originally intended for Queen Victoria's granddaughter, the same Alexandra of Hesse-Darmstadt, who was destined to become the wife of Nicholas I. She categorically refused to marry Prince Albert because she had already fallen in love with the future Russian emperor. It must be said that Albert, despite his high position, was not at all an enviable groom. Even his relatives often marveled at his ignorance and lack of education. He did not know languages, nor did he seek to learn them, nor did he know geography or history. Prince Albert's circle of interest was narrow. In fact, he was obsessed solely with his own amorous conquests. They made him a frequent subject of the scandalous chronicle. Queen Victoria, tired of the heir's shenanigans, decided to marry him off. Albert showed little enthusiasm, but he didn't refuse. But there wasn't a girl who wanted to be his wife. May seemed to be the last on Queen Victoria's list of brides. She was considered a very good girl, but her background was not quite suitable for the queen's son. But there was no way out, especially since May did not refuse the prospect of marriage to a young man of very dubious reputation. A happy marriage without love. But it seems that a higher power decided to shield Maria of Teck from this marriage. The flu virus then raging in Europe took Prince Albert's life just 2 months before the wedding. May truly grieved for him. She wore mourning for a long time, and no one could have suspected her of insincerity. The days of mourning were not yet over, and Mary of Teck had been proposed to by Queen Victoria's youngest son George. The wicked tongues said that he had not been in love at all, but had simply carried out his mother's orders, unable to resist her pressure. But the story was a little different. While Mary was in mourning for her prematurely deceased fiancé, she actually became close to George. They spent a lot of time together, and when Victoria advised her son to look at Maria not as a friend, but as a future wife, George was able to appreciate both the girl's decency and her restraint and good manners. In general, if there was no love between the young people, then the sympathy was definitely there. By the way, Maria rejected George's first proposal, and only to the second one, which she received later, did she say yes. On 6 July 1893, they were married. Incidentally, 130 years have passed since then, and the bride's attire and jewelry are still the subject of discussion by fashion designers and designers. Maria Tekka was beautiful on her wedding day, and the marriage turned out to be a rare success. Maria and George were touchingly protective of each other and showed a complete understanding of each other on many issues. They were also the parents of 6 children, one of whom would later abdicate, and the other would become King of Britain. The throne would be inherited by his daughter Elisabeth, granddaughter of Mary of Teck. Royal character. Mary of Teck has been described by everyone as a rather cold mother. She never showed much affection for her children, nor did she hug or kiss them. Her own childhood, without a mother's affection, was probably a factor. She was a childminder, teaching music and history, but she clearly did not know how to show her love. But she was able to teach her granddaughter Elisabeth, who was destined to ascend the throne, a great deal. It was she who helped Lilibeth hone her manners, pushed her into serious study of history and geography, and forced her to study British culture. It was from her grandmother that the future queen received her first lessons in etiquette. Mary of Teck taught her granddaughter to hold her posture and gesticulate correctly, and she ordered all of Elisabeth's pockets to be sewn up so that she could keep her hands in the correct position. It is said that it was from her grandmother that Elisabeth II inherited her stern temper, but she also learned a great deal from her. Mary of Teck was traditionally strict with her granddaughter, but infinitely patient and wise. Some experts have suggested that it was the efforts of Mary of Teck that enabled Elisabeth II, who ascended the throne at the age of less than 26, to become the monarch of which the United Kingdom is proud. Mary of Teck lived a long and undoubtedly happy life. There may not have been room for fervent passion, wild romances, and explosions of emotion, but it had everything she loved: a position in society, royal luxury, national respect, and a dignified old age surrounded by loved ones. Yes, Mary of Teck had her quirks. Even her own children tried unsuccessfully to deal with them. For example, she spent years collecting items of historical, cultural, or family value. However, she was said to have often forgotten to pay for her purchases, which even gave rise to unsubstantiated rumors of kleptomania. This remarkable woman essentially dedicated her entire life to enhancing the authority of the monarchy and managed to raise a worthy queen of Great Britain. Mary of Teck lived to see Elisabeth become queen and passed away just a month and a half after her granddaughter inherited the throne. Elisabeth II has become one of the most respected monarchs in British history. She has been on the throne for 70 years, but there are also some major scandals associated with her name. The Queen also has her own little foibles and secrets, but she is still treated with the utmost reverence by her subjects.